Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. You're watching Biz Check. We are live from our national headquarters here in Broadcasting House. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Well, when you talk about the Vision 2030, it is Kenya's long-term blueprint socio-economic development agenda. And with about how many years to go? With about 6 years before now, we complete the cycle of Vision 2030. And the question has always been, what have we achieved and what do we need to do to accelerate the achievements and the aspirations of Vision 2030? I mean, this is the kind of conversation that we need to be having as a country, even as we head to Vision 2030 in about 6 years from now. And that is the kind of conversation that we're going to have here on Biz Check. I'll be joined by a team of highly accomplished Kenyans. They are also very, very high ranking when it comes to policy formulation and, of course, policy implementation in the government. I'll be unveiling that team in a minute. And also remember, we have our reporters on the ground. They'll be tracking what is happening from Nairobi to Kisumu, Mombasa, to all the other counties. We'll be giving you an idea of what is happening on the ground. This is Biz Check. My name is O'Brien Kimani. At O'Brien Kimani is my X handle. At KBC Channel 1 is what you need to talk to so that we can get to see your interactions. I told you about the topic of the day. We want to look at 3 critical areas. There are key components in Kenya's socio-economic development agenda. You have the agribusiness, you have the SME sector, and of course you have the trade. And I have some of the highest ranking officials in these areas. And I'm about to introduce this team to you. On my left, immediate left, we have Dr. Paul Ronoh. He's the Principal Secretary in the State Department of Agriculture. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. for joining us here.
Thank you, and welcome.
Very good. And next to Dr. Ronoh, we have Susan Mang'eni. She is the PS, or Principal Secretary in the State Department for SMEs Development. Thank you, Madam PS, for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
Very good. And just next to Madam PS, we have Alfred Kombudo. He's the PS for State Department for Trade. Asante sana.
Thank you so much
for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I first of all want to hear from Dr. Ronoh here. I mean, when you look at agriculture, I mean, with a contribution of about 25% to Kenya's GDP, it's a critical cog in Kenya's development agenda. What reforms are we undertaking in this sector to, number 1, increase production, and number 2, improve our supply chains?
All right, thank you, Brian and audience. I think this is a very important topic, and it has come at the right time because under this administration, when you check on the better agenda, agriculture is put as number 1 under what is called the food security. And it was not by mistake, but it was first of all aligned with SDG, and secondly is because of how important agriculture is in terms of economic transformation. So when you look at the plans under agriculture, under the better agenda for this administration, one, we are looking at how can we improve on production. And we are looking at what is called the root cause of production, and we are looking at farm inputs. And when we look at the programs we have put in place to ensure that we address all the farm inputs so that we increase on production, we have looked at the issues of the fertilizers to ensure that the farmers get the right fertilizers on time at the right cost. Because when you look at the whole ecosystem of agriculture, not only in Kenya, but across the globe, farmers' input are subsidized because they are believed to be the critical component for the economy, and farmers are so key to development of any nation when it comes to food production and food security. So in Kenya, you see in the agenda number 1 under food security is subsidized fertilizers and subsidized farm inputs, because we believe that if we can subsidize the farm input, we'll be able to assist the farmers in production. So how far we have gone on that program is that over the last 2 years, if you check, we have registered all the farmers, close to 6.4 million farmers registered in our system, so that we are able to provide the necessary farm inputs in a subsidized manner. At the same time, we support them across the country, knowing that agriculture is also devolved because it's a big component of agriculture being done by the county government. So over the last 2 years, we've been able to supply close to 15 million bags of fertilizers to close to 6.4 million farmers, which is our whole ecosystem when it comes to our funding model. We have used close to 25 billion Kenya shilling when it comes to that subsidy component.
To procure and distribute.
And we are looking at engagement of the whole ecosystem. This goes to the agro dealers, it goes to the transporters of these fertilizers, the manufacturers, and all the way to the other value chain, which are really contributing to this particular program. And then coming back from the fertilizers, we have also looked at the seeds, because we have realized that we don't have enough seeds for each value chain. Because in this administration, we have given focus to 6 value chain. We are talking about rice, and then edible oil. We are talking about cotton, which is the textile industry. We are talking about tea as one of the value chain. And then we are talking about leather and meat industry. So all those value chains are under focus in this administration. But of course, there are 14 key value chains out of the 29 which cut across the sector transformation agenda in agriculture. So where we are as we talk now, we are talking about, when we talk about food security on maize alone, because we believe a lot that when maize is a tick, then we are okay. We don't put savrias in our heads. When you see the corn silent, that tells you that all is well, because we have been able to produce from 34 million bags of maize, of 90 kilogram bags. It has moved because of the subsidized fertilizers to 67 million bags. And it talks about how many acreage and all the ecosystem in terms of production.
For which period?
For this year, which has ended. We were able to go up to 67.
For the just concluded financial year.
Yes, 67 million bucks. And when you see the consumption per month in Kenya or per year is around 61 million bucks, which 44 is for domestic, and then the remaining is for livestock. So we have been able to achieve that. And looking at the program which is in place now, we are going to over 80 million bucks in this arrangement now we have in this current year. When you look at it in terms of food in this country, in the shelves, you will discover that the cost of 2 kilograms of maize flour has dropped to almost 100 and 120. When you just go to sugar, because of the same component, it has changed from a kilo of sugar used to be around 260. It has come to around 135, 140 now, just because of that element alone on subsidized fertilizers. The production has been so commendable to an extent that Kenyans, when you see they are silent in food, it means things are working.
I'll be coming back to you just also to try to understand, because when you talk about sugar, I mean, we import almost 70% of our sugar needs, from the Comesa region.
Yes.
So I would also want to hear from you. I mean, how through this fertilizer subsidy program, how have we managed to increase our sugar production? And also, we also have to give credits to the fact that we've been having some good rains, which have boosted, food production. But I know you're so much into the production aspect in all this value chain, but you cannot have production without human labor. And that is where Susan Mang'eni comes in, because you're in charge of SMEs.
Yep.
And the SMEs, are the key drivers of economic development in Kenya. How is your department supporting Ronoh's production department?
Yeah, so thank you, O'Brien, for having me again on this show. First and foremost, let me register once again my deep felt condolences to the families that lost their kins following the recent protests, and I think it's still ongoing, because today it also, I've walked around town and you can see there are not so many people coming to town because of the scare. And also my heart also goes out to our MSMEs in various parts of this country whose properties were destroyed, and just to stand with them, and also just also looking at the critical role that MSME play when such kind of violence happens to businesses and to the human capital, like you're putting it. it really takes us back. It reverses the gains which we had started registering. MSME is very critical to our economy and to our country. As you know, it contributes to 40%, to around 40% of our GDP, and 90% of our jobs are from MSMEs. Unfortunately, if you look at the way we have structured them, is that I would say we are underexploiting them, because we have an opportunity to contribute even 80% to our GDP. So I think this was the reason why then in the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the transformation of MSME environment was then highlighted as a key pillar next to agriculture. My colleague here said agriculture is the first key pillar, but the second pillar then is the MSME, because you need actors. And it's the MSME space where we will get the population to participate effectively in the economy. So agriculture still remains the backbone of our economy. All our businesses ideas, close to 99%, emanates from agriculture. So what my colleague here, Ronoh, calls as production, when he is improving production levels, I look at them as enterprises. When he's talking about 6 million farmers that he has onboarded on the digital platform, I'm looking at them as entrepreneurs, because I think we're now moving to a stage where we want to look at farming, not just for subsistence level, to put food on the table, but also to give us a livelihood over and beyond the food on the table. It's a source of business. We cannot spur our manufacturing sector without having increasing levels of production. And that's why what he has done is not just me, actually, who is influencing his sector. It is him who is influencing my sector. And this is how he's influencing my sector. Like I say, most of our business ideas, we source them through agriculture. So for example, right now, we are working on how to build the capabilities of our MSMEs. First of all, mobilize them and rally them to take up those opportunities. Like I said, his farmers are entrepreneurs. So we want people now to start embracing commercial farming, to know that it's in that farm, be it 1 acre, be it half an acre, be it 2 acres. That is your job, your day-to-day job. But for us to make that productive and to generate more income or to bring back high returns on investment, then we have to address issues, for example, of access to quality farm inputs. And I want to thank him, because he's really done a lot. The government has really done a lot. The fertilizer subsidies has really breathed a fresh air into farming. And many farmers across the country right now, especially the last season, when we introduced the subsidies, most of them registered increased production, increased surpluses. So from those surpluses, then they can have enough also to take to the market and drive a livelihood from it. Then from there, we're talking about manufacturing. And for us to have to increase our manufacturing, because right now it's only 7% of our GDP. Our aspiration is to see how we can push that to even 20%. It is in the manufacturing sector that we now start creating sustainable jobs, secure and quality jobs to our population. But to do that, we have to be assured of production of raw materials, and that's why he's very critical. He's the fulcrum of our economy. So what we are doing, we work with him to make sure that we develop a business model and entice our population across the country. We talked about for example, edible oil value chains. These are traditional value chains that our people have grown up and have a practice of farming, for example, groundnuts, farming sesame, farming sunflowers, and all that. But what they did not know is that it's not just for the subsistence, of farming, for food. but they did not see the value in it, the economic value in it. Edible oil importation in this country is the second largest import bill that we have. Every year as a country, we spend so much to bring in the raw materials without
edible oil processing.
Edible oil processing. Yet the raw materials, what are the raw materials? The groundnuts, the sesame, the sunflower. These are
the corn.
These are the corn. Traditional value chains that our people have grown up with. So what do we do? How do we increase that production? So we now have to create awareness among our population across the country to let them see the value, just beyond putting it on the table, to see the value, to see how this can be cashed out and put money into the pocket. And so they start embracing it as an enterprise. So we have embarked on a very robust program of enterprising. Our farms across the country, our farmers across the country, but the only thing we've been, because as farmers, as entrepreneurs, we may not have the extensive knowledge to see what are the quality seeds, what are the fertilizers. It is him now to bring that on board.
Very good.
And then and I also want to thank him because they have also, you remember during the Madaraka Day, they commissioned more than 3,000 agripreneurs. So these agripreneurs are working with our farmers because now our farmers wants to take farming to another level, to want to start farming as a business. For them to do it as a business, they need the right capacities. They need to know the right farm inputs. And what do? Some of these farm inputs have got a cost element. So I come up with a financial model that will enable them access these farm inputs at affordable prices. So basically, in as far as enhancing the productivity of agricultural sector, that's our major contribution, mobilizing farmers, organizing them in some sort of cooperative entities, and ensuring that they can access financing support or financial products that gives them access to quality farm inputs.
Very good. I will also be coming back to you because I would want to find out, how you are giving the agriculture sector in Kenya, a youthful face. Because when you look at the average age of a Kenyan farmer, you're talking about 56 to 60 years.
Yeah.
So how do we bring youthful faces into the Kenyan agriculture sector? Kombudo, after all is said and done, it is your business to ensure that the production has, what we have produced, has a market. What are you doing to ensure that the coffee that we produce, the macadamia that we produce, the avocados, we have markets for our farmers?
Thank you very much, O'Brien, for that. And thank you also to my two colleagues who have expounded quite a bit on how their departments are doing production, strengthening the capacity of MSMEs and also young people to be able to get those products into the market. First and foremost, however, we do of course recognize that it's a difficult time. There's a new conversation that is happening with our young people. We encourage that conversation. At the same time, we are very unhappy for the loss of lives that have happened. And we do believe that conversations around growing a nation can and should happen devoid of violence and devoid of all these other things, because we are really in reality in an exciting time whereby I think we can have lots of progress on the table. Coming to trade, it is the responsibility of the State Department for Trade to ensure that that which is produced, that which is added value to, finds markets. And these markets are both markets that are domestic and markets that are also international. Maybe we could start off with the international markets. Kenya is a commodity producing country that is exporting these commodities into international markets. And what we have been doing is to ensure that we are able to have more get into the market, but more with value addition locally and into markets that basically pay us a premium. So to share some specific examples, we need market access, we need trade agreements with various countries that will allow us to get our products into their markets. And the contribution, working very closely with agriculture, working very closely with MSMEs and other departments, we just 3 days ago started implementation of the Economic Partnership Agreement between Kenya and the European Union that allows all Kenyan products to get into the European Union market without any tariffs, and we can take as many products as we want. And this is a 27-country, $16 trillion economy. So what are we saying here is that over the last 1 year, this administration has on a permanent basis created a high-value, high-paying market that will enable all the coffee, all the tea, all the value-added products that we are trying to produce to basically exercise that market. And we are not just interested in exercising that market with the products as we know them, but we are also having strong development cooperation parts of that agreement that are supposed to enable us add value, that are supposed to enable us bring in the investment that is required to create partnerships for supply relationships between European farms and Kenyan entrepreneurs, and also to modernize how we do our production. That's one example. Another example is that one of our largest trading partners is the United States of America, and we are currently negotiating or completing a strategic trade and investment partnership. And this strategic trade and investment partnership, alongside the implementation of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, is supposed to also ensure that we maintain access to a $26 trillion market that we are only beginning to scratch the surface of. And it is not just to take the things that we've been taking there, but to add value and to open up new sectors. And maybe one last, two more examples perhaps, is that the African Continental Free Trade Area remains a key and primary market for our manufactured goods. And once things come off the farms, once value is added, once small entrepreneurs and even large ones alike are able to turn these into manufactured goods, then it is the responsibility of the department to ensure that they find their way into markets, into East Africa, into West Africa, and into so many other places. And when our business people find problems abroad, we help solve them, as you can see from our joint trade commissions that we have with several countries. And perhaps one last example is that we are constantly opening new markets and new sectors. Allow me to share an example. We export about $7 billion worth of goods, but one statistic that is really growing maybe a bit more quietly than it should be is that we are also now exporting about $6 billion worth of services.
The service industry.
The services industry. This has huge implications, and it is a clear indicator that the young people of this country are going to be a key part of powering this economy. And we are taking all the steps that we need to ensure that the services sector grows. Why is it heavily connected to young people? It is connected to young people because you can do this at home, you use the internet, you create content, you have innovations that help us do transport and logistics more efficiently. You are able to do welding opportunities here that can be assisted by technology to do products abroad. You are able to do back office operations on accounting and all these other things. And I think when we look at the services sector, then our young people have reason to be positive and comfortable with the future, because we believe that this is an area that we shall be having more to do now.
And I have hosted, so many senior government officials, on different platforms, from these to other platforms. And you get a message, or you get a sense of so much is happening in the background. And the government is doing so much, to uplift the socio-economic well-being of Kenyans, and of course to uplift the economic status of Kenya. But when you talk to the people, to the masses, there is a general feeling that the government is not, if it is not doing anything, then it is not doing enough. And I have always wondered, where is the disconnect, Dr. Ari?
Yes, thank you. Brian, you know, this communication we have here is very important because as PSS, we also felt that we do a lot. Maybe we sit in the offices too much without communicating. And I think this engagement with my colleagues here, we are around 8 in terms of when it comes to production. Because we have PS trade, which is was not here, PS investment, and then we have also PS in charge of irrigation, and also PS in charge of industrialization. We work as a team. But you know, many a time we sit behind our offices and communication becomes a problem. We do a lot, because when you look at the young people, which I really, it was quite unfortunate that we lost life. Because
and property.
And property because of what happened. And it is quite unfortunate, and we condole with the families. But when you look at the space for the young people in this government, if we are specifically even in agriculture, you know, we are engaging close to, we have a plan for 450,000 agrotech. But as we talk now, because we say it in this government, we are on action. You know, we are no longer on planning as PSS. We are on action. We say there should be no more workshops, no more training. We are on action. So when you look at what we have done in agriculture over the last 2 years, and even what is going on now, we have said we need to engage these young people to really assist us in agriculture, not only in farming activities, but on other tech issues related to marketing of agricultural produce, and even legal issues, and also other issues to do with product development, because we believe these tech people, these young people in the X spaces, could really assist us. As we talk now, I think Susan talked about it, how we, during Madaraka Day, we were just unveiling close to 3,000 youth under a program called Agropreneurs, who will engage farmers in different levels and assist them in production. And what we have done in this one, because we are on action, we are employing 7 young people in the line of agriculture in every ward in this country. That translates to around 10,000 youth, which now it will be employed over the next maybe 3 to 4 months. But we have already done 3,000. That is action which is being taken on these young people. When it comes to other...
Do the young people know this is happening?
Yes, we even launched it during Madaraka Day. They came and we had already employed, and if you saw Madaraka Day, we had 3,000 young people already recruited into the agricultural programs to assist farmers, because we feel that we need to support the county government, especially in injecting these youth so that they can really roll out a number of programs at the county level. So you'll be seeing now us engaging more and more young people so that we reach the 10,000 targets. Who are these people? These are people who have certificate in agriculture, they have diploma in agriculture, or they have degree in agriculture. Apart from that, when we were importing the fertilizer, when we were just distributing fertilizers, do you know when we were loading fertilizers in Mombasa, the 1 million bags, we had to engage close to 100 youth for 24 hours to load the fertilizers every day. And then when we took it to different depots, we had to engage another group of youth in motorbikes to take them to different farmers. And then when you look at the transport industry, also when it comes to the lorries, you know, we had close to 1,000 lorries per day distributing fertilizers. At that time, every lorry on the road was a fertilizer transporter. And you talk now about the number of drivers employed. It means 1,000 minimum drivers employed per day just transporting fertilizers. That is a whole ecosystem. If you go to petrol station...
And that is fertilizer alone.
That is only fertilizer alone, one line.
Why do we have so many young people in our streets, you know, demonstrating and calling for dialogue and demanding for this and demanding for that? Is it that they do not know what the government is doing, or the government is just talking to itself?
Well, we are also, thank you for that. let us not forget that we are also coming from a difficult economic period. The last 5 years, especially before 2022, were quite a difficult period. I mean, and that is well known to many. And of course, there are young people who have gotten into the education they needed to have. They have the skills for that. And economic recovery is a process whereby you create opportunities over a period of time, and you're very intentional about it. And that is exactly what we have been doing as an administration. Looking at the value chains that PS for agriculture spoke about, these value chains were not chosen by accident. They were chosen also because there were value chains that had capacity to bring in lots of people, value chains which had capacity to improve production with little minimal additional investment, and so on and so forth. So I think it's an ongoing conversation. We need to appraise young people more of the initiatives that we are doing, and I think we'll be more intentional about it. Let me share an example.
Yeah.
If I pick up from the fertilizer distribution program that the esteemed Principal Secretary spoke about, and the numbers that you're seeing there, the 3,000 plus aggregators that were brought on stream, on the trade side, we have picked up this information. We have done the relevant homework for the establishment of a commodities exchange.
Yeah.
And we have capacitated a warehouse receipt system. And what then does this mean tangibly for young people? It means that young people are going to be able to get involved in agriculture and create opportunities from it by being farmers, but by also being service providers and people who are engaged in trading in agricultural produce. And how specifically would this work? There are opportunities whereby warehouses have been certified for trading in several counties, including in Kirinyaga, in Kisumu, in Mombasa, in Nakuru, in Trans Nzoia, and so on and so forth. Eventually, we want to make sure that all the counties are there. We are going to have aggregation of these commodities run and managed by young people. From the mobile phones, those who want to trade in commodities will then be able to make an arbitrage and sort of use their IT and services related skills to do this. So in reality, once we have picked up production, which we are, I think, going to almost double on several of the commodities, as you are seeing the products that the esteemed Principal Secretary for MSME is doing in terms of education, availing credit, availing skills, and so on and so forth, also the commodity exchange is being finalized that will allow trading to take place. Thousands and thousands of young people will be able to participate.
Very good. I'll be coming back to you, team, because we need to take a short break. But I think the message that is coming out of this conversation is that, number one, the government has been doing a lot. Because, I mean, that is the whole business of the government, is to improve the welfare of the citizenry and, of course, improve the socio-economic aspects of every country. But also something else that is coming out is that there has been misalignment in communication. And going forward, there will be a deliberate effort to try and communicate more on what the government is doing, because that is what is needed. Well, if you're just joining us, you're watching BizCheck live from Broadcasting House. This is our national headquarters. My name is O'Brien Kimani. We're having a very good conversation here with some of the most senior people in government. And we're talking to people in the ranks of principal secretaries. It can't get better than this. And our conversation is what the government is doing and how the government is going to communicate what it's doing to the people. And today we are focusing on three key value chains: the value chain of agriculture, SMEs development, and trade. We are taking a short break, and thereafter we'll be back with more conversation. Stay right here. Welcome back. You're watching BizCheck live from Broadcasting House. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Our conversation today is revolving around three key value chains: the agribusiness, trade, and SMEs development. And we are joined by three senior government officials in the rankings of principal secretaries. We have Dr. Ronoh, he's the principal secretary for agriculture. We have Susan Mang'eni, he's the PS for State Department for MSMEs, and PS Alfred the PS for Trade, joining us this morning to help us enumerate government projects and plans, and of course how to streamline government communication channels to ensure that the right message goes to the right people. That is the kind of conversation that we're having. Before we went for the break, I want to hear this from you, Susan. You know, I had posed this question is, I mean, if, and it's clearly, I mean, the government is doing so much, and you just need to walk around the country. You see new roads coming up, hospitals. There's a lot that is happening. But when you listen to the people, they feel there's a sense of despondency, like we've lost it all. There is no hope. Why is this the case?
Okay, so thank you, O'Brien. Let me go back to better and the import of better. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda in itself is a socio-economic revolution. Mm-hmm. Because then how we structure economy participation is from the bottom coming up. And you see the previous regime, their approach was top-down. And so, and better is youth-facing, is young people-facing. Because what are the objective of even the value chains that the PS agriculture was talking about? When we look at reducing the import bill and looking so much inward in promoting the manufacturing sector, is because we want to create jobs. It's because we want to crowd in more foreign exchange. It's because we want to promote industrialization across the country. And all these opportunities are facing the young people. We are a young nation. More than 70% of our population are young people. So it's not a question of what are we doing for them. It's about what are we doing with them.
And actually,
so
18 million of these 70% are below the ages of 25.
Absolutely.
The Gen Z.
And the average age is about 17 years thereabout.
17 years.
So if you're 17 years, it means we need to work with them. It's about us looking at them as strategic partners. So bottom up in itself, the whole purpose and intention is about supporting young people, especially those at the bottom of the economic pyramid. So when we say let's go bottom, it means let's move away, like he said, from our boardrooms, from our offices, to the spaces where our population reside in. But again also, for a long time, young people have been seen as being homogeneous. Young people have different needs. They exist in different spaces. For example, right now, what has really given us sleepless night is a different segment of young people who are tech-savvy, who are in a certain level. You see, like those ones who are in school, who have gone to school. Like you see, when we came in and we started off with interventions that were targeting, especially mamambogas, bodabodas, through the Hustler Fund. And you'll agree with me, the last 3 weeks, you've not seen so many bodabodas coming up and going to the street. Because at least for them now, we've come up with an intervention that is now giving them ability to access credit. The credit rating today, through the Hustler Fund, the credit score, is going to be a new form of collateral that now will bring down the barriers to access to credit, because you cannot do business if you cannot access affordable credit. So you find a number of bodabodas, a number of mamambogas today have grown their credit rating, and today as we speak, out of the 23 million Kenyans who have accessed the Hustler Fund, we have about 1.6 million Kenyans that we have rehabilitated, right now have built up their credit rating and can now go to the mainstream financing institution and borrow credit. And I think this is the kind of transformational change that we needed in the MSME economy, because this has been the greatest barrier. But then you come to the space of young people in colleges, young people who have these specialized skills, young people who are tech savvy. The question is, what opportunities exist there? So if we sit in our comfort zones, in our offices, we may not quite understand the opportunities that exist there and the kind of enablers that they need. And that's why I agree, the kind of communication that is needed is not just us coming on TV. It's not just us even going to those spaces. We just have to be more deliberate, more intentional. First, at mobilizing them and understanding the spaces where they exist in and working with them. In that regard right now, we are working on a study and work program. Because remember, our rallying call in this administration during campaign was, kazi ni kazi, pesa mfukoni. So we committed, first of all, to decriminalize work, so that anybody, wherever you reside, in whichever spaces, if you have your farm, your 1 acre farm, you can still derive money. We're putting there some economic value proposition in every space that you reside in. Same thing with our young people. In those X spaces, there's quite a lot that they can do. Right now we have opportunities for online jobs. We have opportunities for digital trade. Who are we going to? Who are in that space? It is those young people. So what I said, I agree. Maybe the kind of communication, and you see, once something is has a revolutionary element, is always disruptive. So beta itself is disruptive to the norm. So it also takes time for people to settle. And I will say it's almost now 2 years since we came to power. Yeah. So we are settling, and I can assure you and assure our viewers that all our intention and our purpose is to move to the context, to the spaces where our people reside, and mobilize them, rally them around those opportunities which are existing, and for them now to enterprise. Because why what you're doing is very important, why agricultural production is very important, why focusing on trade, opening up new markets is very important, because the only option we have right now to create jobs in our economy is MSME.
Very good.
But MSME cannot thrive alone without increasing levels of production. But again also, we are not just going to tell our farmers, go to the farms, take your jembe and do this. We have also to guide them on the kind of high growth value chain, the value chains that have got great potential, yes, which can have a ready market, yeah, can generate more opportunity, and where when we focus on value addition, we can actually create more jobs for our young people.
Dr. Ronoh, I mean, when you look at the people in the streets today, and today it doesn't mean, you know, today. You know, these are the people, you know, between the ages of 17, as Madam P.S. is talking about, 17 to 25 years. And when you go to the Kenyan farms, you know, the average face you'll see there is the face of somebody who is 40, 45 going up. And so even as you work on this agricultural value chain in the leather industry, in the milk industry, in the dairy industry, how are you working towards giving this value chain a youthful face?
Okay, thank you. You know, this current problem of the youth in the X spaces has also made us as government, especially our ministry, to really look at how we are going to engage everybody. So when you look at in terms of decision making, there is likely to be a decision making which include the X space youth. And then there is one which also the G space, which is government. And then the K space, which is the normal Mang'eni, the people in the street. So that when decisions are being made, we listen to all of them, because we realize that even as we talk now, let me tell you, maybe not all of them are in this space of ours. The X space is TikTok, Facebook, WhatsApp, and it's growing at a very tremendous rate. So in terms of engagement of everybody, there is need to be looking at all those spaces for really getting information and discussion. Because when you look at the ideas the youth have for this country, they are very, very, very good ideas. And let me go back to how we have structured now the various value chains. If you go, for example, to even provision of loans for our youth, We gave out a loan product to AFC, close to 2.2 billion. But
that is Agricultural Finance Corporation.
Yes, but over a period of 2 years, we were unable to get the youth to get the loan because the model of that loan cannot be consumed by the youth. Because when you see the old model of loan by AFC, you are supposed to keep land as a collateral. But the youth don't have land.
Yeah.
They see they don't have land. So we had to reconfigure it so that we have programs which are fit for youth. And listen to the youth in the way they want these programs to be run in terms of loans. They don't want a loan which takes a very long time. They also don't want sort of to be, as old people like over-guiding. But they have different initiatives on their approaches. A youth can see, I'm in agriculture, but my work is to market. I can develop the products and market. I'm in agriculture, my work is a lawyer for the farmers. Yes, I'm a lawyer in agriculture. I will need loan to run my law firm for agriculture. Another one saying, yes, I'm in agriculture, but I want to run a borehole so that I keep water to farmers. So they have different models of approaches which are fit for the youth. Because I said we are taking close to 450,000 agritech youth who will assist us. When you look at even their conversation and their discussion in the X spaces, there are people who are telling us, even if you have a problem on market, we can do it on X spaces. They can really create those TikTok communication for a product like tea or coffee. And they are able to get markets outside. So even as we engage the entrepreneurs, the youth in the village or the youth in different places who can go physically to approach the farmers, we intend to have each of those youth to get attached to a youth who is in the X space. So the youth in the X space have an attachment to the youth in the ground. So who can market, he can use the technology to really create good products and communicate to farmers in a better way. So when you see the whole ecosystem, you'll be able to meet different type of skills which can really assist in marketing agricultural produce. So there's a lot of potential in the youth. And let me tell you, this issue of farmers being of a particular age, in fact, the average age of African farmer is 60 years. And across the global is also that age. And there's also a scarecrow on how are we going to approach the youth, all the way from education and skills, so that people appreciate agriculture. Because when you go to school, back to school, you are being punished. The punishment you are given when you make a mistake in the primary school, in the old stage, is you will be given a chamber, you go to the farm. So it made agriculture to look like a punishment, a program. It is not a program which is good for anybody, it's a punishment. So that is what the Ministry of Education is trying to change. And we have now a 4K club, working with the Ministry of Education to change the whole model.
So we are reviving the 4K club.
Yes, we are reviving the 4K club. So that we really skill this.
And of course, remodeling it to meet today's needs.
Yes, to meet today's need. So that we really ensure that as young people are going through the school system in agriculture, they appreciate the journey and see agriculture as one of those courses in future which really give them competitive advantage. So those are the things we are doing across different sectors to make sure that we make agriculture attractive and also ensure that we action. Let me tell you, Brian, people are tired. They need action. That's why sometimes we are quiet, because we are on action, so that we really demonstrate and that we are solving the problems of the Kenyans as by this administration.
Very well.
So maybe, O'Brien, let me just come in a little bit on that. I mean, the only opportunity we have to make agriculture become more attractive to the young population, because remember, young people are looking for a job, is for us to design it in a manner that will look like a job, and for it to look like a job, there must be returns out of it. And I'm talking about commercial returns out of it. There must be money being derived out of it. I know of a number of young people who are doing farming. I know of a number of young people who have leased land in Narok and are doing wheat farming. I know of a number of people who have taken up farms, let's say in the Limuru area, and are doing vegetables. However, we must then design a program that is an end-to-end. There must be a ready market. So we have to act for a market. And I know if you go to a young person, say, invest in this kind of business, that young person can access credit and can access sustainable market. There is no job that a young person cannot do. So again, also, if you look at this traditional value chain like coffee and tea, how do we make them attractive to young people? Remember, the whole system around it has been more like elderly. So you need to own a farm, you know those kind of estate. So you find it's your parent who is owning that estate, and you actually have no relationship because you don't even have a title deed. But now, how do we convince these young people that once your parent now passes over this inheritance to you, you need to continue? You've seen today in Kiambu, most of now the current generation are pulling down those coffee farms in preference to real estate. Why? Because they have not been involved in the whole process of production for them to appreciate. So we are right now valorizing those value chain. For example, from coffee itself and wastage recycling, you can actually do paper, and those require some sort of innovation. So each and every value chain has got opportunities for value addition, has got opportunities where the technical skills of the young people will be required. For example, he just said here that again, whereas the average farmer is 60 years old, we're talking about the average Kenyan being 17 years old. So what he's saying, that somehow we just have to get young people into farming, but it will depend on how we proposition. There's a young person who just sent me a message right now saying, hey, I'm from Homa Bay, and showed me the kind of oils which she has pressed from the sunflower seeds, and she's telling me now, I'm looking for a market. This is a young person who is doing this. So people just want us to assure them of a market, to assure them access to affordable credit, and to provide them with capacity building, business development support that will make them make a business and of course you want to make profit out of any venture that you have.
I agree with you. And even before you touch on what she has said, I also want to find out from this. I mean, one of the objectives as the State Department for trade is to drive internal trade. Yes. You've really talked about STIP. You've talked about the EU Kenya partnership. You've talked about the African Union or the AFCTA. What programs do you have to drive internal trade? Because we cannot just be making goods for external markets. We also have our very own internal market.
Yes, I think that's extremely important. The majority of trade happens internally. And of course, internal trade is what really creates jobs and livelihoods in a much stronger way than any other form of trade can. There are the two key instruments within our State Department that is driving that, and also connected to the agricultural value chains, is the Kenya Multi-Commodities Exchange, which I mentioned briefly before. But we also do a lot of policy-related work to ensure, for example, that traders who are producing goods in one part of the country and need to sell in another, we are currently engaged with the Council of Governors to ensure that the problem around cess is addressed, so that the value of goods are actually not getting higher and higher based on the fact that you pass through two or three counties. We have agreed provisionally on a number of ways in which we can control the administration of those kind of payments. And of course, this will come through in a bill in a very short time to be passed by Parliament. And we then expect that the cost of trading, especially on the transport side, becomes much lower. One other thing that we have done is that we have now established the Kenya Multi-Commodities Exchange. And this basically will be a huge driver for domestic trade. What will it solve? 30 to 40% of all the agricultural produce is sometimes going through post-harvest losses. And therefore, if we are able to get a strong pull factor that enables a farmer, a trader, and those cadres to be able to find good markets quickly, efficiently, and using technology, then we create a situation whereby farmers are able to get better prices, but also the whole ecosystem of traders and the brokerages and so forth are also then able to do market discovery in a more efficient way. So sometimes you may have 20 sacks of grain. You may have a buyer that's probably just 6 kilometers away from you. You do not know each other, and then you end up, because a year ago you made a sale maybe 100 kilometers away, you basically are chasing a market that's more expensive to go to, and yet because of discovery of information, you've not gone to somebody who's a bit closer. So the commodity exchange is supposed to make trading in agricultural products far more efficient, and it will also help us reduce the post-harvest losses. Number two, around that,
and even if as you go to you know, to point in number two, I also have this, because you know, sometimes, you know, the government has some very good projects, very good initiatives, very good intentions, but the turnaround time, you know, it takes too long before something can be implemented that to a point that it almost loses its original value. And I like the fact that you're bringing in the issue of commodity exchange. We've been talking about this for the last 10 years. How soon can we have the commodity exchange going live so that we stop now telling people we are going to do, we were planning, so that people can start now trading on the platform?
it's not about we are going to do, it is we have done and we are doing. What have we done? We have spoken to all the financial institutions in this country, all the commercial banks, no less than 10 or 15 different meetings to understand how their own systems can interface with the commodity exchange. They had some initial issues that we have resolved that will now give them the comfort to get exposure to this. We have spoken to warehouse owners, and then we have agreed with them, what should a warehouse look like? What kind of documentation do you need? What kind of connection to an e-system do you need that goes into the commodities exchange? This has already been completed. We have also acquired technology that is going to drive the commodity exchange, that is going to facilitate trades. We basically brought together all the regulators, representative of farmers, cereal associations, people from the financial deepening sector, and so on and so forth. And we have agreed on how the technology platform is actually going to work. So they're basically rolling out now, and we do expect the first trade to happen within a few months. 90%, 95% of the work that needs to start an exchange is already complete. And that's why we are here today, because we are now telling different cadres of the community that there are warehouse inspector jobs that are basically available. There are people that are supposed to be doing education or financial literacy. There are storekeeping. There are transporters. There are laboratory people. There are all these people that are now going to have new jobs created for them because we've inverted the way trading and agricultural commodities are going to be sold in this country. And if I may add on to that, even if I go back into the international sector, our State Department, in association with the International Trade Center, is, for example, already saying that, I mean, we have a program that's ongoing, and part of it also targets young people. In the coffee sector, for example, or in the tea sector, for example, part of what adds value to a commodity is being able to package, label, and turn it into something better. Now, we are, for example, now running a program with graphic designers so that we can train graphic designers on how packaging for an international market works and how labeling for an international market works. And this is something that's ongoing. We'll be able to share more details about this, so that agriculture and value addition also involves professions like graphics design, packaging and labeling, and so on and so forth. So I think those are some of the areas that I'd like to point out in relation to your question.
Very well. The other thing I wanted to find out from you is this. I mean, look, we've been talking about KBC, And this is supposed to revolutionize industrialization as well as deepen SMEs in this country.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be done at the county level. But we haven't heard about this. We are yet to see the first KBC being launched in this country so that young people can start trading. They can start doing their business. And instead of them spending time in the streets, now they will be preoccupied with setting up their businesses. How soon can we have the first KBC ready to take off?
Construction is going on in several KBCs. Partnerships have been developed between private sector, the Council of Governors, and the ministry in order to identify which are the proper value chains for each KBC and to basically create an ecosystem around that. So construction is actually ongoing, and we do expect that we should have some of our first KBCs coming up shortly. But more importantly, is for us to prepare for the ecosystem of trade, agriculture, MSMEs, and value addition that will come from there. So if, for example, this is an area whereby there's lots of livestock, we now expect that the KBCs should then be having the right equipment and the right processes to process that, and so on and so forth. But I guess my sister here has also been working quite closely with the KBCs, and she can add something.
Very well.
Yes, so far, I think we've done groundbreaking of about 18 of them.
18.
The
Out of the
KBCs,
47 counties.
Out of 47 counties. But like we say, for us to kick off, we need to address the issue of production. I'll take an example of the Busia County, where we have Nasewa. We also have Nasewa Special Economic Zone, which is coming up, and which is properly now integrated with the KBC. Busia County and the environs there, Siaya and other counties, are cotton growing areas. Our PS here, since last year, has made sure that they start mobilizing these farmers, working closely with the Cooperative State Department, putting farmers in groups, making sure there is provision of BT cotton seeds, because industries can only happen where there is raw materials. So even as we wait for the brick and mortar to get completed, the model itself or the business itself is in for us having an assured source of raw materials. And then what I'm doing also is now to sensitize. We are sensitizing MSMEs within those counties to take up those opportunities. The good thing is that with our value chain concept, we have mapped out each and every part of this country. If you look at the North Rift and the Northeastern area, we are prioritizing the leather and leather products value chain. So meaning there's quite a lot of work that is going into improving livestock production there. Because once now those KBCs start functioning, we don't want a situation of us ending up with the white elephant projects where there is nothing. And you see, for example, the leather value chain in this country, there's so much huge opportunity. But the challenge has been on the recovery of the skins and hide. Out of the 4 million potential skins and hide that we realize each and every year, only half of that gets to be recovered. And you see, for us to make value proposition out of that value chain, we need now to invest more on the recovery. So we're also modeling out businesses to see how many MSMEs within those areas that can be interested to take up opportunities, because even the whole aspect of recovery in itself is a business. And then when you look at now the logistics involved moving those hides to the tannery is also a business in its own. So we are doing that. But the other thing on the internal trade, because we also have to ensure that our MSMEs have got a granted market, is that we are rejigging the AGPO, the access to government procurement opportunities. Because you'll agree with me that the biggest market in any economy is usually the government. And several years ago, the government came up with AGPO to ensure that at least 30% of all government procurements goes to youth, women, and persons with disability. Yeah. So right now, as a State Department, if we can secure that market and then make sure, because one of the greatest barrier has been majority of these AGPO-enabled entrepreneurs, they lack access to to affordable credit because of the collateral. And this is the reason why we have intervened with the Hustler Fund. So that now Hustler Fund credit score replaces the conventional collateral, the title, this, the what that the banks have been looking for. So my encouragement, for us to take up this opportunity, we must have access to credit. And to have access to credit, you now have an opportunity through the Hustler Fund to build up your alternative collateral that will give you universal access to this opportunity. So we are working on that.
Have you managed to work on AGPO and ensure that 30% of government tenders and jobs are given to
So there is, because quarterly, there are reports. We usually do the assessments on how much each and every government procuring entity has allocated. And you can even look at it when it comes to the work plans and when you're budgeting. There is always that segmentation, 30% will go to that. But now, the challenge that has come out is that most of our people have no capabilities to utilize it. So we've been seeing people taking advantage of, you see, you just become like a front. Most of these AGPO certificates are used as a front. But if you are to go back and look at who are really the beneficiaries, may not be the AGPO certificate owner. So what you're doing, and the barrier, as they've been telling us, one, the greatest barrier has been access to credit. Yes, I can get tender on the basis of the AGPO, but I don't have finance. What do? You look for someone else who may not be a woman, who has the finance, so you will become just like a channel. So we are trying to address that by also making sure that we build the capacity of women, youth, and persons with disability, who are our primary targets with the Hustler Fund credit scoring, to be able to access and utilize. Because I believe since this program was launched, if religiously we were setting out the 30% of all government procurement, if religiously this was going to these groups, we'll be seeing an improvement in their livelihood. But now we are gaining track of that. We are tracking up to ensure it's not just about certificate, but actually also over and above is for us to monitor and see that indeed it is the person who is on that certificate, is that young person, is that the woman, or it's that the persons with disability that has actually utilized the opportunity, and you can be able to see the impact. So we are tracking on this. And the other thing, the AGPO has also been affected by pending bills. And a number of MSMEs actually, many of them have been telling us, unless we improve on addressing this problem of pending bill, we are not then interested in taking up those contracts. You've seen so many MSMEs also, number of people taking even their lives because of, being heavily indebted. So what are we doing on that? Is that the task force that was set out to look at the pending bill, headed by the former Auditor General Edward Ouko, is also coming up with measures, and we are interacting with it to come up with measures on how we can address this question of pending bill. Because if we are going to give preference in terms of procuring to these groups, we should also give them preference in terms of payment, because this is credit they're operating with, and we must, all of us, come to an understanding of defining a credit period that is acceptable. Because if you're going to sit with these marginalized groups bill, let's say for about 1 year, 2 years, you're really sinking them deeper into poverty. So those are some of the measures that you're looking at to making AGPO become more attractive and more effective, to expanding the markets to women and youth and persons with disability.
People with disability.
Yeah.
I can see we almost we have about 30 minutes before we come to the close of this conversation. But I want us now to spend the next 30 minutes or so now talking about what we are going to do, or what is being done now. Because we can spend the whole day here talking about what we plan to do, what we shall do, but people now want to hear what is being done. How are we going to do things differently? And I want to hear from you, Daktari. You have seen and heard what young people want. They want solutions not tomorrow, but today, through the agricultural value chain, what are you doing to address the concerns of young people when it comes to access to market, access to credit, access to up-to-date technologies when it comes to agriculture?
Right. Thank you, Brian. It is important we discuss about this, the young people and the experts. And this is the time to engage the youth, because you have.
And I like the fact that you are talking about the X space.
X space.
Are we likely to see an X space
Yes.
on agriculture?
Yes, because this is the time to engage the youth. Because when you look at the opportunities in agriculture, it is very, you cannot imagine the opportunities we have in agriculture, especially when we go to the technology space. Because technology can give you as many opportunities as possible when you want to use it either to market, to develop product, or even to do communication and to do education on farmers. So when you look at the plans we have in agriculture, if I go to maybe the sixth value chain, when you look at the plans we have, for example, tea. You know, tea, when this administration came, the production for tea was 535 million kilos of tea. But due to the injection of the fertilizers and good rain, it has moved to close to 575 million kilos of tea. It translates to close to 200 billion foreign exchange earning. But when you look at the program we have, and I hope you saw in the last 3 weeks, when we are launching a big program in Kericho, in Ketepa, for what is called the common user facility, to really bring in the SMEs. We have around minimum 294 SMEs who will be benefiting in terms of value addition and putting up different products for tea so that tea are sold. That is direct. But indirect, we are looking at how can we engage now the youth, because we have launched a new product we are calling Chai Cold. You know, Brian, if you look at Kenya tea, the tea is of quality, but the way we are packaging it and selling it, we sell the tea which we should sell at the price of gold, at sometimes price of silver or wood, because of the way we are packaging and the way we are communicating. But we believe that this new common user facility will really tap different markets and different job opportunities for the youth, because we are looking at now youth with this product called Chai Cold. We are looking at engaging the youth even to sell the products across the country. You know, there is...
This is the Chai Gold facility that was launched by His Excellency's President?
Yes. What it means is that we need to produce tea, okay? The tea you drink in the right way, the right methods, and the right quality. There was somebody...
And of course, the right packaging.
And the right packaging. But if you are talking about how the youth, we want to engage the youth, we want to ensure that in almost every center we have these products being sold. And also we have youth also. If people want to make tea, there was one entrepreneur in Mombasa who was making tea at a power station. And he could sell, it was called Blue Room. He could sell 1,000 cups in a day. That is just selling because what was important was the quality of the tea. But that is one aspect. But when it comes to really engaging now the experts in tea and the youth, we are looking at creating a platform for marketing this product. You can create a whole IT platform for marketing of the tea product, and you can engage the youth wherever they are. And depending on how much they can sell and how much they can market, or how much they can assist the whole value chain, they will be getting their earnings from there. But apart from that, you have seen now we can do physically engagement of the youth also at the level of the factory level, whereby we want the youth now to participate. That is one product on tea. But when you go now to rice, you know, rice, when you look at the production for rice in this country, we are importing close to 80%. That you agree. But we are looking at ways and means of now coming up with more land for what is called lowland and highland rice, whereby they don't need irrigation. But where are the youth coming in? The youth will come in through MSME, because we want to cluster the youth so that they participate in even packaging, in milling, and also transportation. If you see the rice we are producing in Hero, Most of them go to Uganda. Why? Because they lack packaging, because the milling, the milling system and the equipment have not been well equipped.
They are obsolete.
Yeah, but the program we have now under Chaika and MSME, we want to engage the youth so that they really assist the government, especially in production, in packaging, in milling, in marketing, and also in export. So that is one value chain which we are looking at close to 200,000 youth employed in rice value chain.
I want to hear this, Dr. Sorry for stepping on your shoes. The young people are looking at a situation whereby they really don't have to go to engage in the actual farming. And I'll take, for example, tea or coffee, for example. They can go to a coffee farm, buy the coffee, take it to a grinding machine provided for by the government, package this tea, and sell it through online systems to people in Russia, to people in China, to people in the US. How can we establish such a system?
But you see, where is the first step? If we take an example of tea, of the common user facility, where is the youth and what is the role of the youth? In the common user facility, we are saying the youth and the entrepreneurs will come to this common user facility, repackage the tea into different packaging models based on the requirements of the customer. Those are the people who can package. Then we have a platform. Even now we have a platform called Isoko, where the youth can engage. Isoko platform. The youth can engage.
And this is a platform where you can sell your product?
You can sell your product. So these are a platform where youth can really utilize so that they can sell the product. Because I believe that if we can sort out 50% of our ecosystem from production to marketing through technology, we'll be able to tap quite a number of youth. There will be a youth who is doing legal issues. That is a lawyer. There is a youth who is doing product development. That is an IT or an economist talking about the pricing. That is a youth who can tell us what is the right price for this market. There is a youth who is very busy looking for the markets outside. That is also another skill of a youth. And then we also have youth who are also doing transport. So you have a whole ecosystem, but if we can we are looking at developing a platform, enhancing the current Isoko system, so that we can tap as many youth as possible at different levels. Because what youth are saying is, we don't want to sit in an office for 8 hours and work for work which I can finish in 1 hour.
Precisely.
In 2 hours. I can do so many work within a span of 8 hours, as opposed to fixing me in an office in a suit and a tie, just to earn some money. But I can really work in my house, wherever I am, because what you need is production. It is not about I'm there physically in a tie.
Allow me to cut you and remind you something that was that I had some young people, and I was participating in one of the Spaces conversations, and there was this conversation that was taking place about working with the government. And so many people were saying that I am not interested in being employed by the government. I don't want to be a civil servant. But I want a situation whereby I, at the age of 21, at the age of 23, I have been given an opportunity by the government to work with the government, not to work for the government. And this is what I want to hear from Kombudo. Yes, we could be very busy signing this partnership agreement, with this organization and these. We could also be very busy, constructing these county aggregation industrial pacts. But how are we going to design our frameworks, our agreements, our policies to ensure that we give young people an opportunity not to work with the government, not to work for the government, but to work with the government?
Excellent. We do trade agreements in order for them to create opportunities, not for them to be merely pieces of paper to be put on the cupboard. So I'll give you some very tangible examples on how we suggest that young people can work with the government to exercise opportunities arising from the work that we are doing. First and foremost, the Kenya Multi-Commodity Exchange has sent out a call to register people who are interested on getting onto that platform, either as a farmer category or a trader category or a broker category, and so on and so forth. We encourage young people to go to the COMEX platform and basically register for onboarding. Because
which platform is this? Just say it.
It's the Kenya Multi-Commodity Exchange. It's at, let me just share that with you just now. It is at COMEX_Kenya. At COMEX_Kenya. So maybe in a few hours I'll ask the CEO to basically put out the fresh onboarding form. And I'd like to encourage as many young people as possible to get onto this. The second thing is that on the same platform, we have now done a call for potential subscribers, people who want to basically take out shares in this, to be able to do so. And those young people who are in the financial services sector may have some little capital, can also see what it takes to get onto that platform.
How much capital do they need?
I believe it's let me not pronounce myself on that. Let the CEO just put that on the platform, and then they'll be able to get onto it.
And all this information, they can get it on
yes,
on that platform.
Yes. So, and I'll ask them to post it in a few hours' time.
Very well.
Another one, very, very specific, is work with us. If you are a graphic designer, we will shortly share a platform that then you are able to then register for graphic design related courses that will help you do graphic design work in the tea sector, specifically around how to package and how to ensure that you're able to create graphic design packages that can resonate with different packages abroad. So this will really bring out the creativity of young people, and this is as a result of our international trade agreements. Another one that I would like to encourage our young people is look at the EU Economic Partnership Agreement that we've just signed. Very specific opportunities arising there. We shall very shortly be putting out a call for domestic advisory groups for this agreement, so that then civil society, young people, people who want to exercise trade, people who want to export, are also able to contribute to the governance of this this $16 trillion trade agreement. So opportunities exist for you to be part of domestic advisory group. Opportunities exist for you to be part of the civil society group that will be established around this. And if you're a young professional and interested in developing your arbitration skills, or you are already a well-established one, trade agreements always have panels of arbitrators that are put together in order to advance issues that are there. Perhaps one or two more that I can share with you is that we are now having a conversation with the United Arab Emirates. This is a $450 billion economy that has strikingly good capabilities in the area of ICT and in the use of the digital economy. And also, we are now looking at gaining access into this market through trade in services for the ICT sector, for the financial services sector, and other cadres. So, of course, I'd like to ask the young people to take a look at this, and this will also open up new opportunities when we finish that. And perhaps one last example in the agriculture space, and this is happening across all value chains, but I'll just use one example. We are exporting about $90 million worth of meat and meat products, mostly into the Middle East. We believe that we can double, quadruple this, basically by getting our young people and also other exporters to understand this market a bit better and to respond to the needs of those markets. So in partnership with the World Bank Group, we've completed a route to market study that shows us everything from how logistics are done in that market, on who is buying, on what the supermarkets, whether it's Carrefour, Lulu, Union Corp, and all this, how they're actually doing their buying, what the procurement managers in these places are telling us about what sort of meat products they want. And we have triangulated all of this so much so that we know where the perfect positioning for Kenyan meat products is. And this is something that very shortly we shall be rolling out to our exporters. So I think very specific examples exist there, and I'd really just encourage a conversation around utilizing the immense opportunities that are arising from all of this.
P.S. Mang'eni, in 2 minutes, I also want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What are the low-hanging fruits in the SMEs landscape that young people can take advantage now, not tomorrow, but today?
Great. So my State Department of MSME and Trade, we are private sector facing State Department. And our objective is to support the private sector to grow and thrive, because it's only the private sector which can create more jobs and more sustainable jobs. And if you look at the jobs that we have in this country, out of the 3.5 million formal jobs, 2.5 are in the private sector. So I will agree with the young people that even if they were to look into the civil service, we do not have job creation opportunity. We've hit a flat curve there in as far as expanding the civil service is concerned.
And the government is not even hiring.
We are not even 1 million. If you were to take stock the last financial year, how many jobs we advertised, you'll agree with me that less than 1,000 probably in the public service. So it's true that we need to focus in the private sector. And so our work here is to build the capacity of the population and crowd them into the private sector. So that's a very good attitude coming from the young people, saying, as we want to work with the government, we do not want to work for the government. So quickly, what is it that we are planning or we are already doing? In the space of capacity building, we are now rolling out, beginning this month, a Center for Entrepreneurship, which is a CFOE, in conjunction with the German government. This is a 3 billion facilities that is aimed at upskilling young people. So we are setting up 6 satellite centers across the country, which we have anchored around certain priority value chains, or if you like, the special economic zones, because this one then exposes them in the environment in terms of the unique value chains that they need to invest in, and as a way of also promoting the KIPES, the crowding into those KIPES, because who are going to be the investors that we're targeting for those KIPES? They're going to be the local MSMEs, and the majority of those local MSMEs apparently are also the young people. So this program we are rolling out this July. And secondly, so we likely to have a center in Western Kenya, which will focus on the edible oil value chain, because that's the key priority value chain there. We'll have a center in Uasin Gishu, taking care of the dairy farming there. We'll have a center in the areas of Baringo, also facing the northeastern area, to take care of the leather. We'll have one in Kirinyaga. We're gonna have one in coastal area because of the Dongo Kundu, and then the one in Nairobi is going to take care of the Nairobi and the environs, Machakos County, Kajiado counties
Nairobi
there.
Metropolitan.
And as you've heard from a number of people, everybody is agitating for the lack of knowledge, lack of information, capacity building. So the kind of capacity building also that you're going to do in that space is a targeted kind of capacity building, where we become more intentional at mobilizing, rallying them, and ensuring that we identify the skill gaps and upskilling them through these opportunities. The second one that we have is the Kenya Jobs the Kenya Jobs Transformation, Employment Transformation. So KJET project, the Kenya Jobs Economic Transformation. So this KJET project is a 150 million USD project, which one has got an element of improving the business climate. We are going to carry out extensive studies to get to understand what are some of the policies that needs to be reformed, so as to create an enabling environment and a trading environment for our MSMEs. And again, all these projects are targeting young people. We are also going to provide common user facilities for the young people that are interested in value addition. And in this way, we're also aggregating these young people into association, so then we can equip them with the machinery to enable them do the value addition. Then we're also looking at another program as far as Hustler Fund is concerned. The whole purpose about Hustler Fund was to rehabilitate majority of Kenyans who were in CRBs and their credit rating had, was negative, to help them to repair them and build up a credible credit rating that they can now be believed into the mainstream financing market. So for us to do that, like any other normal rehabilitation, is that yes, we have 1.6 million who are ready to go, but you cannot just shock them again. So you have to win them off. So in a period of 1 year from this July, what you're doing, we are working with the banks and we've secured a 30 million USD facility to win them off at a still affordable interest rates. And this one will now give them an opportunity to be reintegrated back into the mainstream economy. These are the MSMEs, these are the Kenyans, again from them whom will form formidable enterprises at small scale, at medium level, at medium size, again working closely with Kombudo to make sure that these opportunities is opening in Europe, in the US. And by the way, jointly we negotiated the MSME chapter in the strategic trade and investment partnership with the US, which is one of the largest economy. So these opportunities they are signing on the paper, it is us now to contextualize and take them to the people. And lastly now, to address now the experts young people, is that we have to empower them with the digital tools. If they are to make use to enterprise the expenses, they need laptops. They need digital tools that can enable them as to take up those opportunities. So what are we doing? We're also relooking at our financing models, and we want to come up with specific financial products that can equip a young Kenyan, especially those in the tech spaces, with the digital tool that will enable them now trade online. Because we say them that opportunities, if you don't give them laptops, how are they able to do that? So we are going to come up with such a facility. And it is our hope that we can achieve this at the point of gaining entry to college and to the university, so that we can also then take advantage of their free time, be it weekend, be it in between classes, to do something that can put money into the pocket. Finally, finally, I just want to say this.
Seconds, yes.
In 30 seconds, I just want to say my agency's Micro Small Enterprise Authority has got CIDCs located across the country in each and every constituency. So we want also to re-equip and modernize these facilities so that then they become the industrial development centers, equipping our young people in those spaces, even those probably who dropped out of the school, with the now the market-ready skills that can enable them do a business. So Uwezo Fund is also there, is remodeling. It has digitalized its processes to reduce the turnaround period for one to borrow loans. And interestingly, on Uwezo Fund, we're also looking at vulnerable men. Initially, we've been focusing on women, and people say about
now
us
you're also
men.
focusing on
so
women.
We are also now focusing on vulnerable men.
Let's now hear from Dr. Ronoh, as we wind up, because I can see time is well spent. What are the available opportunities now in the agricultural value chain that young people can take advantage of today, not even tomorrow?
Yes, I think from this discussion, you can feel that we are focused and we are on action. And I like action-oriented discussion. And I want to go back to what must we do for the rest of the value chain to continue, for Susan to get to work and for trade to get work. It is production. And we want to engage the young people now to assist us in production. Because unless we have enough to really take through the process and take the youth through the process, then it will be very hard to achieve a lot at the tail end. So you have heard what I've said, that we are engaging the young people to 7 by what, to assist us to really work with the farmers and ensure that the right agro businesses at the farming level are done, so that we get the right quality product and the quantity for the market. So when you look at this engagement of 7 youth per ward, we are talking about 10,000 youth to assist us generate other work for the rest of the youth in the value chain. So this one, what it will do, Brian, is that these young people will first of all capture a particular segment of the farmers, train the farmers, assist the farmers in marketing, and also in the right agro businesses, so that we get the right product. So after that, we intend to use this youth to work with these farmers continuously, so that they have what we call a youth with farmers. So you can get a youth having 50 farmers, 100 farmers, which they will continuously go through the process of production throughout. So we expect this youth, even when the farmer sells the product in future, he is able to get something out of the sales if he has really demonstrate that there was value in the production. Because the problem we have now is that the production is very low, they are of poor quality, sometimes the knowledge is not there. But when you bring in the youth, they will be able to assist us in ensuring that we have the right production in quality and quantity. That is one step, which we believe that within the next couple of months, we'll be able to really have youth in the farming and also in the space of marketing within the villages. We are working, of course, with the county government in identification, because we also want to make sure that we get the right people on the ground, so that we avoid getting a youth who is already working and giving another work, as opposed to picking a youth who is in the village. It doesn't have any work. So, because when you pick that one who has no work, it has the value, the impact is huge than the one who is already working. But we are saying, as this youth is picked, you also identify a tech-savvy youth who is in the digital space to assist in knowledge, in information, in packaging, and in marketing. So that the two youth or the three or the four will be working together. So when you see the full transformation of that, you are talking about close to around 30,000 youth employed within no time in direct and indirect. So now...
And these jobs are available today?
Yes, the recruitment is going. We have done 3,000. Even we launched last week, it is going on. The other one is, when you look at production in this country, we have been concentrating on 14 counties. And the 14 counties have been overused or over-tilted. The soil is no longer...
saturated.
Yes, saturated. So we also want to focus on the arid and semi-arid areas, which they only need water. And that is why we have PS irrigation and PS water with us, to make sure that those arid and semi-arid areas, they are provided with water, so that large-scale farming can take place.
Very good. Gentlemen and a lady, I mean, we have come to the end of this conversation, because I can see it's 1 minute past noon. Your time is highly appreciated, and it's clear from this conversation that we are past the age of talking. We are now ready for the action. And I hope that the young people have listened, and they're also going to heed this call and also become proactive in looking for these opportunities that are going to emerge from these conversations. Your time is highly appreciated, and thank you. Go on and serve the nation. Asante sana. Very good. I just want to close this conversation with a statement that was issued by the late U.S. President John F. Kennedy back in 1961 during his inauguration at El Portico, facing the Washington Monument. And this is what he said: "Ask ye not what the government can do for you, but ask yourself, what can you do for your nation?" And so today, as you go around the activities that you are carrying today, just ask yourself, what am I doing for my nation? What role am I playing to make my nation great and to help our nation excel? We only have one Kenya, and the Kenya that we love. My name is O'Brien Kimani, a patriot. Always good to have you. Thank you for your time. Kurunzi Mashinani is coming up next. From me and the rest of the production team, have yourself a great afternoon.